Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into the Bill Safranek Team podcast. In this show, we look back upon our careers as educators and coaches. We will talk with people that we have taught, mentored, coached, influenced, or had a connection within our careers. My name is Mike Laporta. I am the former principal of Freedom High School, the former head wrestling coach at Muhlenberg College, and a current real estate agent. Today, I'm talking with Rachel Griffith at her restaurant, Apollo. Rachel is a local entrepreneur owning Apollo Restaurant, and as a hobby is an instructor at the Hot Fitness Factory, all in Bethlehem. Rachel is a 2003 graduate of Freedom High School, a 2007 graduate of Moravian University. I've only known Rachel for a brief period of time. She does have a connection, though, to the last two principals as I attend Hot Fitness Factory. I've gone to some of Rachel's classes, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a couple of minutes. Rachel was also a field hockey player, a softball player, and her connection to the current principal at Freedom High School, Lori Sage, was that Lori was one of her softball coaches while she was a student at Freedom High School. So there is that connection here between the principals of Freedom High School and Rachel. So Rachel, you, from Freedom High School to Moravian University to the owner of one of the premier restaurants in the Lehigh Valley, how does that happen?
Well, it's been quite a journey, that's for sure. It didn't happen overnight. I, straight from college, actually started working here. I remember telling my parents when I graduated, I was like, I love the restaurant business so much. Like, I want to stay in it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay at my current restaurant or if I'm going to start looking. And I just noticed that, I don't even know when did people post jobs? I guess it would have been like on Craigslist or something, that Diane Holt had posted that she was looking for an assistant manager. And I was 21 years old. I never managed in my life. I was a bartender. I was a server. I hosted. I did all that stuff, but I never managed. And she hired me on the spot. And really the rest is history. I worked from being their assistant manager to their general manager. And then, 5 years ago, coming up in December, I bought the restaurant. So it's been quite a journey.
That's amazing. Think about it from the grassroots, from bottom to top.
Yeah, they taught me everything. They really did. I mean, it's quite a Cinderella story because I was the underdog. I wasn't guaranteed the restaurant, but they did see the potential. They saw the value in somebody that, like myself, who was invested in the restaurant, and I always think about it to this day. One of the things that I always did was I always wanted to figure a way that I could help Rod and Diane out, how I could grow the restaurant, how I could make it better. It was every single day I was trying to do something that I knew that we could grow this business and make it where we are today.
Yeah, basically continuing the legacy of great ownership and a great restaurant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So before I ever came to this restaurant, I've had numerous friends that have been to this restaurant, and they said, Mike, you need to go to the Apollo. Let's meet at the Apollo. Let's get a bite to eat. And they've said to me that, I've never had a bad meal at the Apollo. How does that happen? How do you generate that level of consistency day in and day out over a long period of time?
You have to give credit to the crew. A lot of us have worked together for a very long time. A lot of them are front of the house. They've been here 10, 15. Some have actually been here since day one, since we opened 24 years ago. And in the back of the house, that crew, they are just so talented. And I give them so much credit. A lot of times what happens is the kitchen crew doesn't get the credit, they always hear the bad things. But, luckily for us, there's a lot of good things, and we hear a lot of positive feedback. It's a consistent product. It's a quality product. It's just they love what they do, too. We do, and that's the difference between us and other restaurants. No offense, there are a lot of great restaurants out there. I get that. But I always say we have something special here because we really care. this is what we do. We are all professional industry people, and I have the utmost respect for anybody in this business. In fact, I think everyone should have to work in it for at least 6 months.
There are employees in this restaurant that have seen the evolution of you.
Yes.
As a former employee.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, they've seen it all, and that's amazing that you're able to produce the longevity of employees. You're not seeing a high turnover in one of the most crucial areas of your industry.
Well, and we've always we treat this job like any 9-to-5 corporate career. Like this is, we offer health benefits, we offer a simple IRA, paid vacation, very competitive wages, but we want to do that. I feel that everyone deserves that. We've done that for years, so it's just we do. We have a phenomenal crew. And it's not like they don't stand behind me, like they stand honestly in front of me. Especially in the last year or so, I've had to step back a little bit with my daughter because she's young, and they've just taken the reins. It's like they run this restaurant just as well when I'm here than when I'm not here, and that's kudos to them.
Absolutely.
They love it. They do a phenomenal job.
So, if I were to eat lunch, dinner, or an evening bite here, what would you recommend? I know what I would recommend.
Oh boy.
I know what I would recommend, but what would you recommend?
Well, I love everything on our menu. I really do. Everything is very good, but I love our ahi tuna carpaccio. I recommend always sharing appetizers. The carpaccio, the black and blue tenderloin, the burrata, the ahi tuna tartare. We have about, I think, 28 appetizers on our menu. So a lot of times what people do is they come here and it's more of a grazing experience. They share everything. Just recently we added this amazing veal dish with like butternut squash and cherries and like a marsala cream sauce. It's out of this world. In fact, I could probably eat it every day. I would have to work out 4 times a day if I did, but it is still worth it.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
But no, and obviously our cocktails, they're amazing. We have master mixologist Whitney, our bar manager. She comes up with great cocktails, and the whole team does. So it's always fun. On days like today when it's like really rainy, we do try some of the cocktails that we're maybe thinking of putting on the menu, which is nice.
Not before working out today, though.
I know,
right?
no, I can't. No, I know.
Not before working out today.
No.
So you forgot the lobster ravioli.
Oh, yeah, that's the lobster ravioli. Yes, that's always a good one. That is good.
It is the best.
Yes.
But the black and blue and the lobster ravioli. Vanessa and I come here and we love that
in our kitchen. So we have certain stations, right? So our sauté station is the one that gets hit the most because it has the lobster ravioli, the black and blue tenderloin, the crab cocktail, the veal dinner, the duck dinner, all those really great things that take a lot of time and effort to put together. So they put together a consistent product doing that. So I always try to recommend other things too, so I don't get Crystal. Her name's Crystal. She does all of that. She doesn't get hit at one time with all that food. But no, the lobster ravioli is a good one. It really is.
You have a steady flow. There's like 3, obviously, prime times. You have your lunch time, you have your dinner time, and you have, your nightcap. People are coming in, and maybe you could throw a happy hour in there. Describe that. What's that flow like here?
Yeah, we have a great, because of our location too, located within the 2 colleges, and then we also have a lot of businesses down here. And then we also get a lot of people that are coming out for leisurely lunches. We are consistently busy though, Tuesday through Saturday, lunch and dinner. And we've also seen kind of like the in-between times have really picked up business-wise. And I think that's because of, we're coming out of the COVID era, and a lot of people are still kind of, trying to go to a restaurant when it's not so busy, or, we're thankful for it because we're busy from the time we open until the time we close. And we've also, other restaurants have modified their hours. We have not. So other restaurants now are closing earlier. Well, we're still open later at night. So now we're also getting extra, customers, I believe, that are, the ones that want to dine out later because other restaurants aren't open. So, it's good for us because then they get to try us and hopefully they get hooked.
Yeah. I would say this, good for you for persevering through, just a horrible time in our in our country and the world. COVID put a lot of people under and put a lot of people out of business, and you persevered. Personally, I think, you talk about the relationships you've developed with your staff. They stuck through it with you, and your customers, your loyal customers stayed with you, and, you had dine out, and people were ordering meals and picking them up and taking them home. And
I'm still tired thinking about it.
Yeah, and now they're back in here having dinner.
It's an amazing feeling. It's great because we have such a great support from our community. I'll never forget that first weekend that we went from being a full restaurant operating in, and then we went to a full service restaurant operating out, from just all takeout. I mean, I probably could still have nightmares about it, just because it was just such a whirlwind of emotions, and, well, what do we do now, and decisions that you had to make. And I was making decisions based for 50 people, because we employ 50 people. So you're making sure that you're making the right decisions, and you didn't really know, you were just kind of like, okay, let's see how this works out. But I couldn't believe the amount of takeout we did. I mean, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
I remember crying at the end of a couple of nights, being like, how can we have this much support? Like, it was just, tears of joy and tears of, what the hell's going to happen next week, with COVID and everything. But it was just, it was a crazy time, but we did persevere. And
I would say this: it's not just the product that you put out there, but it goes back to relationships. The relationships that you've developed with your loyal customers, the relationships that you've developed with your employees, the relationships that your employees have developed with your customers. That's why people come back.
100%. They're not coming back to see me. They're coming back because of these relationships. And, unfortunately, COVID took that away from us. Like, people forget about the restaurant industry. Sure, it's about food and alcohol and coming out and ordering, but it's such an intimate act, coming out to dinner, because so many things happen at that table. Not just the conversation you're having with your guests, but it's the conversation that you're having with, the server, and the chef coming out, and I don't know, it's just
Absolutely.
like this feeling. It's just it's a good feeling, and you lost that a little bit, and it's so good to have it back.
Yeah. There's a phrase that goes, "People win people," and the relationships that your people develop with the customers, it becomes a friendship. It becomes a great relationship that continues. Let's change gears. You've been in the restaurant business nearly 20 years. All right.
Now you're making me feel old.
No, it's not quite 20 years, I don't think. If I'm counting, I'm
No,
not trying
you're
to
right,
get
20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
So why the transition to fitness? Now I get the fact that you played field hockey and you played softball and that, but why the transition to the type of fitness that you're doing right now?
It's intense, right?
Oh my God.
I was a spin instructor for years when I was working at the restaurant, and I taught spin 7 days a week in addition to working here. Now this goes back 10 years or so, and it was always something that I loved doing because it's different, right? At times, and don't get me wrong, I love my job here, but the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry, it's grueling at times, and it's thankless at times. Where the fitness world is very thankful all the time. People are just happy you showed up. You're leading their workout. They're like-minded. You're all there for the same reason, and it's a great feeling, and it's something that when I stopped doing it, I was kind of mad at myself because I was like, well, this is something I love to do. Why did I stop? But I also had a child in between, so I had to take a break. But getting back into it was probably one of the best things I could have ever done. For one, my stress levels, because it's something that really does help out with the ability to cope. It's all about making sure that you can cope with all the stress that is thrown at you, all the situations that you're put into, and fitness is a way that I can cope. And it's the relationships that I've also formed at the Fitness Factory, are relationships that actually will carry on here as well. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I look forward to doing every single day, and I have to do, for my own sanity.
Talk about, now I've been to your class, and I will say this, it is no joke. It is, I come from a background of being a high school and a collegiate wrestler, being a collegiate coach, leading workouts for college athletes, and being in a weight room and hitting weights hard. Your workout is really a very, very intense workout. One of the most impressive things that I find in your workout is that you're participating in the workout as you're leading the workout. I mean, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way. You're an absolute beast in the room, man. You get after it like haven't seen. I mean, your conditioning level, your strength level, your cardio is just really intense, and it's amazing. But talk about two things: the type of workout that you do, the all body shred type workout, and then talk about the environment in the room.
Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. The room is typically 108 degrees, I would say, and it's intense. I mean, but I think the heat almost like makes you like want to work harder. Like, the moment like you walk into that room, like you feel the energy. And that's half the battle right there. The people that are there, your clients are there to get a good workout. And you definitely don't want to disappoint. And it's something that I wish I could describe it a little bit better. But it's just such an overwhelming feeling of just positivity and just the vibe. You just get right into that mode. Like you said, it is a beast mode. But that's what I know.
It
you
is.
go hard, you go fast. And at the end, you're exhausted, but you're just like, wow.
Interella-like.
I just did that. Yeah. Yeah.
Interella-like, So,
yes.
For the beginner, the person that, perhaps they've heard, I did a podcast yesterday with Anthony, and he does a shred workout in the morning, and you do the evening workout, one of the evening workouts, and for that beginner, describe the room. How do you get acclimated to it, and how long does it take you to get acclimated to that room, so you're not, I got to get out of here, I feel kind of closed in, I feel claustrophobic almost because it is hot, and the breathing and just the acclimation, the mindset of persevering through.
It's interesting that you say that, because like when I first started working out there, when they first opened, I think I spent most of my time outside the room, because I was like, oh my goodness, like this is, I'm not sure how, and then it's really kind of, it's right here, it's getting through, it's convincing yourself that you can do it. And that's also what I do say to a lot of the new people that come in, the hardest part is getting used to the room. It's not the workout itself, it's the element. It's what you're putting yourself through, and it's all mental. Mm-hmm. But once you get into it, and once you can control your breathing and realize, what you can and cannot do, or what you're comfortable doing,
mm-hmm.
And that's the greatest thing about the workout, is you can always modify it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do the 25 burpees that I'm making you do in a row. I mean, there's other ways to get through the workout that you're going to get the workout, and it's all your comfort level. So, I always try to get people to calm down, because they get right into that room and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen to me next?
I think for me personally, the toughest thing for me to get acclimated to is working out in bare feet.
I know. But
I find it weird.
Yeah.
I find it weird, and but it's what you do.
Well, it is, and honestly, I do the workout at home sometimes, like with shoes on, and I'm like, I have to take my shoes off. I'm not used to it, because. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. But once you get yourself like psyched, I mean, I'll tell you, like and even when I just started taking classes there, like it was just the energy, they have just such a good energy there, and it made me want to work harder, And I remember when Anthony and I were talking about like getting, back into it, and this is a completely different workout than what I'm used to doing. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I look back and I'm like, now I don't even know how I ever taught spin. Because now I'm just so into this, and this is just such a, it's mind-blowing to me how good it makes you feel. Like
absolutely.
And how terrible I feel if I don't do it.
Yeah.
It's a good feel. It's a good thing, though.
we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this, but you mentioned that you're a mom of an elementary school student, kindergartner.
Yes.
Okay. How do you create the balance of work and being a single mom and not just going to work, but being the top of the food chain? You're no pun intended here. You are the owner. You are the boss. You are a mom. You run exercise. How do you do this? How do you balance it?
A lot. I don't sleep a lot. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. You just know you have to do it. I wouldn't have it any other way. There's sometimes I'm at my house by myself, and I'm like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I got to go do something. This is what I know. This is what I always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have something that you want, you just have to keep moving. My dad will say it best at times. I'll be complaining about something, and he'll say to me, flat out, "Didn't you want this? Stop complaining, and get back to work." He goes, "You're not going to make it anywhere right now, Rachel. No one's listening." He goes, "You wanted this. You got it. So get moving."
Yep.
And move on from what you're thinking right now.
Before we head into closing here, what's your most memorable moment at Freedom High School?
Oh gosh.
You can't get in trouble for it now.
No. It must have, as my coach would say, it was the goal heard around the valley. When we were playing like Liberty, it was freezing cold. I'll never forget. And we were in overtime. I think it was overtime. Gosh, this goes back now. And I scored the winning goal, and it was a great shot. It was an amazing shot, and that was probably one of my greatest. I loved it. It was huge. But yeah, that was a good moment. I don't know. We had so many great moments at Freedom. It was just such a tight knit community. Obviously, all the athletics. Spirit weeks. We're always good. All of the friendships that I made, especially with all of my, with sports, I'm still friends with a lot of them today, a lot of them are mentors, and a lot of our kids now are starting to get into sports that they're playing together, and we see each other on the field, and, and we can reminisce at that point about some of the moments that we had, as athletes. Cool. So definitely Freedom there was a lot of great times.
Yeah, I think it's homecoming this weekend at Freedom. Yeah. So if you were to offer one takeaway to somebody out there, one of our viewers, one of your patrons, somebody, saying, wow, you started down here and you're up here. What's the takeaway? What advice do you have for them?
Show up every day. Regardless if you want to show up or not, you show up every day. And that's the honest to God's truth. You have to just keep showing up. You're exhausted, you're tired, you don't feel like doing it today, it doesn't really matter. You don't have a choice. You have to keep showing up. Yeah. And you have to keep trying to get better.
Cool. Awesome. I would offer this advice. This is a great place here. The Apollo, great people, great environment, great food, great drinks. Take care of your waitresses, take care of your bartenders, tip them, treat them well, and they'll treat you in a great way that will inspire you to come back.
Exactly.
Inspire you to come back. So we're out of time. I want to thank you for tuning into our show. I want to thank Rachel for her time. I want to thank our producers from New Street Digital for helping create this show. And once again, I thank everybody for tuning in with us. Have a great week.